Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was small compared to the massive cargo haulers that traveled between Earth's colonies, but it was fast and built for exploration. For 3 months, they had been mapping new star systems at the edge of human space. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Maria Santos from her position at the sensor station. Her voice carried a note of concern that made Morrison look up from his reports. "What kind of strange?" Morrison asked, walking over to her station. "It's big, sir. Really big. And it's moving toward us at incredible speed." Maria's fingers danced across her controls as she tried to get better readings. "I've never seen anything like it." Morrison felt his heart rate increase. Humanity had been exploring space for over 200 years, but they had never found any signs of alien life. The possibility both excited and terrified him. "How big are we talking?" he asked. "The computer says it's roughly the size of Manhattan, sir, but that can't be right." Before Morrison could respond, the view screen flickered and changed. Where once there had been empty space, now loomed a massive structure that defied belief. It was clearly artificial, built from dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports dotted its surface like angry eyes, and strange symbols glowed along its hull. "Red alert," Morrison ordered, his voice steady despite the fear growing in his chest. "All hands to battle stations." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, but Morrison could see the shock on their faces. They were looking at proof that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that first contact was not going as anyone had hoped. A new voice suddenly filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English but with a strange hissing accent. "Human vessel, you will respond immediately." Morrison straightened his uniform and nodded to his communications officer. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth vessel Liberty. We come in peace and request diplomatic contact." A harsh laugh echoed through the bridge speakers. "Peace? You dare speak of peace to the Caltharian Empire? I am Admiral Zektar of the Imperial Fleet, and you will listen carefully to my words." The view screen shifted again, showing the interior of what was clearly an alien ship. The figure standing before them was tall and reptilian, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to burn with contempt. He wore elaborate armor decorated with symbols of rank and authority. "Your species is unknown to us," Admiral Zektar continued, "but our sensors tell us everything we need to know. Your ship is primitive. Your weapons are toys. Your technology is centuries behind our own." Morrison kept his expression calm, though his mind was racing. "We're explorers, not warriors. If we've entered your territory by mistake, we apologize. We're willing to negotiate." Admiral Zektar's laugh was even harsher this time. "Negotiate? You understand nothing, human. The Caltharian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 of your years. We have conquered species far more advanced than you. Your pathetic civilization will submit to our rule, or it will be destroyed." "Sir," whispered Lieutenant Santos, "I'm detecting massive energy buildup in their weapon systems." Morrison held up a hand for silence, keeping his eyes on the alien admiral. "What exactly are you demanding?" "Simple," Zektar replied, his scaled lips pulling back to reveal sharp teeth. "Your species will surrender unconditionally. You will provide us with the locations of all your colonies and military installations. Your people will serve the Empire as we see fit. You have 30 rotations to comply. And if we refuse?" Admiral Zektar gestured to someone off-screen, and the Liberty's hull began to vibrate. Warning lights flashed across every control panel on the bridge. "Then you will share the fate I am about to demonstrate," the alien said. The weapons buildup Maria had detected reached critical levels. Morrison realized with crystal clarity that his ship was about to be destroyed and there was nothing he could do to stop it. But he could still complete his mission. "All hands abandon ship," he shouted, then turned to his communications officer. "Send everything we've recorded to Earth Defense Command. Full data burst, all channels maximum priority." His communications officer's hands flew across her controls. "Transmission sent, sir." Admiral Zektar's image flickered back onto the screen. "Your data will do your species no good, human. We have studied your transmissions for months. We know exactly how primitive you are. When our fleets arrive at your worlds, your people will realize the futility of resistance." The alien warship fired. The USS Liberty exploded in a brief, brilliant flash. Captain Morrison and his crew of 43 died instantly, but their sacrifice was not in vain. The data burst containing detailed scans of Caltharian technology raced across space toward Earth at the speed of light. Admiral Zektar watched the debris scatter and felt satisfied. The destruction of the human ship had been effortless, exactly as he had expected. His sensors had analyzed human technology during their brief conversation, and the results were laughable. Fusion drives that were barely better than chemical rockets, energy shields that could be overwhelmed by a child's toy, kinetic weapons that fired simple metal projectiles. "Prepare a message for transmission to all human colonies," he ordered his communications officer. "They will learn of their ship's fate and understand what awaits them if they resist." The message was simple and direct. It showed the destruction of the Liberty, followed by Admiral Zektar's ultimatum: submit within 30 rotations or face the same fate. The Empire had sent similar messages to hundreds of species over the millennia, and the result was always the same. Faced with overwhelming technological superiority, primitive species always chose survival over futile resistance. As the Caltharian ship began its journey deeper into human space to scout for the invasion fleet's arrival, Admiral Zektar felt confident that this conquest would be swift and easy. The humans seemed even more primitive than most species the Empire encountered. Their destruction would barely require a tenth of the Empire's military might. What Admiral Zektar did not know was that the data burst from the Liberty had already reached Earth. In secure facilities hidden throughout the solar system, human military leaders were analyzing every detail of Caltharian technology and preparing for war. The aliens had made their first and most critical mistake by underestimating humanity. The Empire's 3,000-year reign of terror was about to face its greatest challenge, and they had no idea what was coming for them. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as technicians analyzed the data from the destroyed USS Liberty. The massive screens around her displayed detailed schematics of Caltharian technology, and what she saw both impressed and relieved her. "Well?" she asked Dr. Helen Parker, the chief scientist for Earth Defense Command's most classified project. "Their technology is advanced, but not beyond our capabilities to counter," Dr. Parker replied, adjusting her glasses as she studied the readings. "Their energy shields operate on a frequency we can disrupt. Their hull materials are strong but vulnerable to focused antimatter charges. Most importantly, their sensors are designed to detect conventional technology." Admiral Carter smiled grimly. For over a century, humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario. While the public saw a peaceful species focused on exploration and colonization, Earth's military leaders had never forgotten the possibility of hostile alien contact. The preparations they had made would have seemed like paranoid fantasy to most people, but now those preparations might save the human race. "Contact the President," Carter ordered. "It's time to activate Protocol 7. Within an hour, President Danny Walsh was deep underground, surrounded by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the heads of humanity's most secret military programs. The conference room had no windows, no outside connections, and no way for alien sensors to detect what was discussed inside. "How bad is it?" President Walsh asked as he took his seat. General Chris Bailey, commander of the Space Marines, spoke first. "The good news is that we're not as outmatched as they think we are. The bad news is that we're facing a galactic empire with thousands of years of conquest experience." "Explain," the president said. Admiral Carter activated the main display, showing comparisons between human and Caltharian technology. "For the past 100 years, we've been developing 2 separate technology tracks. The first is what we show to the galaxy: basic fusion drives, simple weapons, primitive shields. Any alien species watching us would see exactly what the Caltharians saw." "And the second track?" President Walsh asked. "Quantum stealth technology that makes our ships completely invisible to their sensors. Antimatter weapons that can penetrate any known shielding. Artificial intelligence systems that can process tactical data faster than any biological brain. Most importantly, ships designed to look harmless while carrying enough firepower to destroy anything in space." Admiral Kevin Hughes, head of the Deep Space Fleet, stood and pointed to another display. "We have over 300 vessels in active service that the aliens don't know exist. They're hidden in asteroid bases, cloaked monitoring stations, and disguised civilian facilities throughout the solar system." General Bailey added, "Our ground forces have been training for alien invasion scenarios for decades. We know their probable tactics, their technology limitations, and their strategic weaknesses." President Walsh looked around the room at faces that showed determination rather than fear.
What do you recommend?
We let them think they're winning, Admiral Carter said. Our intelligence suggests they're sending a second fleet to intimidate us into surrender. We'll present them with what appears to be a desperate, hastily organized defense force. Meanwhile, our real military assets move into position. Dr. Parker brought up new data on her tablet. I've been analyzing their communication protocols. Their military uses a rigid command structure that's vulnerable to disruption. If we can eliminate their flagship, the rest of their fleet will be confused and disorganized. Who do we have in position to make first contact with their invasion fleet? The President asked. Captain Amy Rodriguez on the USS Defiance, Admiral Hughes replied. Her ship looks like a converted cargo hauler, but it's actually one of our most advanced warships. She's perfect for the deception. Admiral Carter pulled up Captain Rodriguez's service record. Combat veteran, expert in alien psychology, and most importantly, someone who could convince the enemy that humanity was desperately trying to avoid a fight they couldn't win. What about our allies? President Walsh asked. General Bailey shook his head. The colonies are too far away to help in time. We're on our own for the initial engagement. But if we can prove that the Empire can be defeated, other species might be willing to join us. Admiral Carter walked to the main tactical display, showing the solar system with human defensive positions marked in blue and projected alien approach routes in red. Commander Paul Mitchell will coordinate the deployment of our stealth assets. When the Caltharians arrive, they'll see exactly what we want them to see. And our people? The President asked. How do we prepare them for what's coming without revealing our capabilities? We tell them the truth, just not all of it, Admiral Carter replied. Earth is under threat from a hostile alien empire. We're mobilizing every available ship and putting together the best defense we can. The public doesn't need to know that our desperate defense force is actually a carefully planned trap. Dr. Parker looked up from her analysis. There's something else, Admiral. The data from the Liberty shows that Caltharian ships generate massive energy signatures. Our stealth technology should be able to use that against them. How? We can program our ships to appear as energy ghosts on their sensors, readings that look like equipment malfunctions or stellar interference. They'll dismiss us as background noise until it's too late. President Walsh stood and looked at each person in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity is about to face its greatest test. For 100 years, we've prepared for this moment. Now we find out if our preparations were enough. Admiral Carter activated the final display, showing deployment schedules for humanity's hidden fleet. Captain Rodriguez will make contact in 72 hours. Our stealth assets will be in position 24 hours before that. When the Caltharians attack, they'll discover that humanity is full of surprises. As the meeting broke up, President Walsh pulled Admiral Carter aside. Do you really think we can win this? Carter looked at the tactical displays showing hundreds of human ships moving to intercept a galactic empire that had never known defeat. Mr. President, they made one critical mistake. They assumed that because we look primitive, we actually are primitive. That assumption is going to cost them everything. The next 72 hours would test everything humanity had built and planned for over the past century, in asteroid bases throughout the solar system. Ships that had never appeared on any official registry powered up their engines and began moving toward Earth. The Caltharian Empire was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. Admiral Vexoth watched the human home system appear on his screens and felt satisfied with what he saw. 50 of the Empire's finest dreadnoughts had emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming with the power that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Each ship was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Report, he ordered his tactical officer. The human homeworld lies directly ahead, Admiral. We detect multiple ships moving to intercept us, but they appear to be civilian vessels with minimal weapons modifications. Admiral Vexoth examined the tactical display with amusement. The humans had managed to assemble perhaps 60 ships, but they looked like a desperate collection of cargo haulers, passenger liners, and mining vessels hastily fitted with primitive weapons. It was exactly what he had expected from such a backward species. Open communications with their lead vessel, he commanded. The main screen flickered to show the bridge of what appeared to be a human cargo ship. A woman in a simple uniform stood at the center of the bridge, her dark hair pulled back in a practical style. Her name appeared on the screen as Captain Amy Rodriguez of the USS Defiance. "I am Admiral Vexoth of the Caltharian Second Fleet," he announced. "You have 30 seconds to surrender before we destroy your pathetic armada." Captain Rodriguez looked calm despite facing overwhelming odds. "Admiral, I'm Captain Amy Rodriguez representing Earth Defense Command. We're prepared to discuss terms for a peaceful resolution." Admiral Vexoth's laugh echoed across his bridge. "Peaceful resolution? Your species was given 30 rotations to surrender. Instead, you send cargo ships to fight the Imperial fleet. Your foolishness will serve as an example to other primitive species." "With respect, Admiral, I think there may be some misunderstanding about human capabilities," Captain Rodriguez replied. Her voice remained steady, but Admiral Vexoth could see the fear in her eyes. "The only misunderstanding is yours." Admiral Vexoth snarled. "We have analyzed your technology. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot outrun our hunters. Your resistance is not just futile, it is insulting." On the tactical display, the human fleet had formed into what looked like an attack formation. Admiral Vexoth had to admire their courage even as he prepared to destroy them. The humans were positioning their largest ships in front, apparently trying to shield their smaller vessels from the coming destruction. "All ships, prepare to fire," Admiral Vexoth ordered. "Target their lead vessels first. Let them watch their protectors die before we finish the rest." Captain Rodriguez spoke again from the screen. "Admiral, before you fire, there's something you should know about humans." "And what is that?" Admiral Vexoth asked, amused by her desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. "We really don't like bullies." Admiral Vexoth was about to order the attack when his sensor officer suddenly stood up. Staring at his displays in confusion, "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures appearing throughout the system. The readings don't match anything in our databases." "Impossible," Admiral Vexoth snapped. "Our sensors would have detected any significant military presence when we arrived." "Sir, the human fleet is changing configuration. The lead ship is... It's not what it appeared to be." On the main screen, the USS Defiance was transforming before their eyes. Sections of hull that had looked like simple cargo containers were sliding away to reveal weapon ports and armor plating. Advanced sensor arrays extended from hidden compartments. The ship that had appeared to be a converted civilian vessel was revealing itself as a sophisticated warship. "That's impossible," Admiral Vexoth shouted. "Our intelligence reports showed primitive human technology." Captain Rodriguez smiled on the screen. "That's because we wanted you to see primitive technology, Admiral. Humans have been preparing for this day for over a century." Across the human fleet, the transformation was repeated. Ships that had looked like hastily armed cargo vessels were revealing their true nature as advanced warships. But even more shocking was what was happening in empty space around the Caltharian fleet. "Admiral, new contacts," the sensor officer called out in panic. Dozens of ships appearing from nowhere. They're using some kind of advanced stealth technology. Admiral Vexoth watched in horror as human warships materialized from quantum stealth fields all around his fleet. These weren't the primitive vessels his intelligence had reported. They were sleek, deadly, and armed with weapons that his sensors couldn't properly identify. "All ships open fire immediately," he ordered. The Caltharian dreadnoughts unleashed their main weapons, sending massive energy beams toward the human fleet. But instead of the easy destruction Admiral Vexoth expected, the human ships seemed to dance between the attacks. Their movements were too fast, too precise to be controlled by biological reflexes. "Sir, they're using artificial intelligence to coordinate their fleet movements," his tactical officer reported. "Our targeting computers can't lock onto them." The human counterattack began before Admiral Vexoth could process what he was seeing. Streams of antimatter torpedoes launched from the human ships, moving at speeds that shouldn't have been possible. The projectiles passed through Caltharian shields as if they didn't exist, striking directly at hull armor. "How are they penetrating our shields?" Admiral Vexoth demanded. "Unknown, sir. Their weapons are operating on principles we don't understand." The dreadnought Crushing Fist, one of the Empire's most powerful vessels, exploded in a brilliant flash as human weapons overloaded its reactor core. 3 more Imperial ships followed within seconds, their hulls cracking under the assault of weapons that shouldn't have existed. Commander Paul Mitchell's voice came over human communication channels, coordinating the attack with military precision. "Strike teams Alpha through Delta, focus on their command ships. Echo and Foxtrot teams disable their engines. Golf team, prepare for boarding operations." Admiral Vexoth realized with growing terror that the human fleet wasn't just winning, They were executing a perfectly planned battle strategy. Every move had been calculated in advance. The Caltharians weren't facing desperate defenders. They were fighting a military force that had been preparing for this exact scenario. "Admiral, the flagship dominant force is requesting immediate support," his communications officer called out. "They're under attack by some kind of phase-shifting fighters that are appearing inside their shields." On the tactical display, Admiral Vexoth could see small human craft literally materializing inside Caltharian ships, attacking from within their defensive perimeters. It was a technology that violated everything the Empire understood about warfare. Captain Ben Crawford's voice crackled over the human channels. "Vengeance Squadron, we're through their shields. Targeting their primary weapon systems now." In less than 10 minutes, the most powerful fleet in Caltharian history had been reduced to burning wreckage. Half of Admiral Vexoth's ships were destroyed or severely damaged. The others were desperately trying to retreat. But the human ships were faster and more maneuverable. "This cannot be happening," Admiral Vexoth whispered as his own ship shuddered under human weapons fire. "These are primitives. Our intelligence said they were primitives." Captain Rodriguez appeared on his screen one final time. "Your intelligence was wrong, Admiral. Humanity learned long ago that the best way to win a war is to make sure your enemy underestimates you until it's too late." The bridge of Admiral Vexoth's flagship went dark as human weapons overwhelmed its power systems. In the growing silence, he transmitted one final message to the Empire. "The humans. They are not what they seem. Warn the Emperor. This changes everything." Emperor Nalthek sat on his crystal throne in the heart of the Imperial Palace, reading the final transmission from Admiral Vexoth with growing disbelief. Around him, the High Council of the Caltharian Empire whispered among themselves in voices filled with shock and fear. "This cannot be accurate," declared General Kexvar, the Empire's supreme military commander. "No primitive species has ever defeated an Imperial fleet. There must be some mistake in the transmission." "Play the battle recordings again," Emperor Nalthek commanded. The Great Hall filled with holographic displays showing the destruction of the Second Fleet. The Council watched in stunned silence as human ships revealed advanced technology that their intelligence services had completely missed. They saw Caltharian dreadnoughts, symbols of Imperial might for 3,000 years, burning and broken in space. "How is this possible?" whispered Counselor Texera, her scaled skin pale with shock. "Our sensors analyzed human technology for months. They showed primitive weapons, basic shields, simple engines." Dr. Yelmuth, the Empire's chief scientist, studied the recordings with growing alarm. "The humans were deliberately showing us false readings. This level of deception requires planning that spans decades, possibly centuries." Emperor Nalthek stood from his throne, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. For 3 millennia, his family had ruled the galaxy through overwhelming military superiority. No species had ever successfully resisted the Empire for more than a few months. "What is the current status of our military forces?" he demanded. General Kexvar consulted his tactical displays. "We have confirmed the complete destruction of the Second Fleet. 17 border worlds have stopped responding to Imperial commands. 3 subject species have declared independence and are requesting human protection." "Requesting human protection?" Emperor Nalthek's voice carried a dangerous edge. "From us?" "Yes, my Emperor. Word of the human victory is spreading faster than we can contain it. Species that have served the Empire for centuries are beginning to question our invincibility." The Emperor turned to his intelligence chief, a thin, nervous creature named Silkar.
"How did our spies fail so completely?"
Silkar's hand shook as he accessed his files. "Our agents monitored human space for over 2 years, my Emperor. Every scan, every observation showed the same thing. Primitive technology barely advanced beyond chemical rockets. Either the humans developed impossible technology in secret or what? Or they have been planning for this encounter since their first ventures into space. The level of coordination we witnessed suggests they have been preparing for alien contact for over a century." Counselor Texara looked at the tactical displays showing human ship movements after the battle. "My Emperor, there's something else. Human vessels are now operating near 6 different border systems. They appear to be offering protection to species seeking to leave the Empire." Emperor Nalthek felt something he had never experienced before: genuine fear. The Empire's power had always been based on the certainty that no force in the galaxy could match their military might. If other species believed the humans could protect them, the Empire would collapse within months. What forces do we have available for immediate deployment? He asked General Kexvar. The 1st, 3rd, and 4th fleets are at full strength. Combined, we could deploy over 500 dreadnoughts. It would be the largest military force in Imperial history. And you believe this would be sufficient to defeat the humans? General Kexvar hesitated. My Emperor, we don't yet understand how they defeated the 2nd Fleet. Until we know more about their capabilities, then find out. Emperor Nalthek roared. Send scouts. Capture human prisoners. Analyze their technology. I will not allow a species of primitives to destroy 3,000 years of Imperial rule. High Admiral Thexodon, commander of the 1st Fleet, stepped forward. My Emperor, perhaps we should consider negotiation. If the humans are as advanced as they appear to be, negotiation? The Emperor's voice filled the chamber with menace. The Caltharian Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. We conquer or we destroy. There is no other option. Dr. Yelmoth cleared his throat nervously. My Emperor, I have been analyzing the battle recordings in detail. The human weapons appear to use antimatter technology that is centuries ahead of our own. Their stealth systems are based on quantum mechanics we don't fully understand. Their artificial intelligence networks operate at speeds that exceed our best computers. Are you suggesting that these humans are actually superior to us? Emperor Nalthek's question carried deadly implications. I am suggesting, my Emperor, that we have greatly underestimated their capabilities. They may have been deliberately concealing their true technology level for decades. Silkar activated new displays showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. My Emperor, human ships have now been spotted in 12 different systems. In each case, they arrived shortly after local governments requested protection from Imperial rule. They're building an alliance, General Kexvar realized. The humans aren't just defending themselves. They're actively trying to turn our subject species against us. Emperor Naltek studied the strategic displays with growing anger. Red markers showed human activity throughout Imperial space, while green markers indicated systems that had declared independence or were considering it. The cancer was spreading faster than they could respond. How long before this rebellion becomes unstoppable? He asked. If current trends continue, we could lose control of the outer territories within 6 months. General Kexvar admitted. Once species see that the Empire can be successfully defied, the rebellion will spread exponentially. Emperor Naltek made his decision. Assemble the greatest fleet in Imperial history. Every available ship, every weapon, every warrior. We will crush the humans so completely that no species will ever again dare to resist the Empire. High Admiral Thexodon bowed deeply. It will take time to assemble such a force, my Emperor. You have 1 month, Emperor Naltek declared. In 30 rotations, the combined might of the Caltharian Empire will fall upon the human homeworld. We will not just defeat them. We will make their destruction so terrible that their name will be spoken in whispers for the next 1,000 years. As the council dispersed to begin preparations, Emperor Nalthek remained on his throne, staring at the recordings of burning Imperial ships. For the first time in his long life, he faced an enemy that had surprised him. It was a feeling he did not enjoy, and one he intended to ensure never happened again. Colonel, Susan Wright finished her meeting with representatives from the Viridian Council and smiled as she transmitted their agreement to Earth Defense Command. The crystal-based Viridians had just become the 5th species to formally request human protection from the Empire. Their advanced shield technology would be a valuable addition to the growing alliance. In the distance, she could see more alien ships arriving at the designated meeting point. Word was spreading across the galaxy that humanity could successfully stand against the Empire, and species that had endured Imperial rule for centuries were finally seeing hope for freedom. The Empire might be preparing its greatest fleet, but it would not face humanity alone. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Constitution, watching as the largest fleet in human history took its positions around the Proxima Centauri system. Through the viewports, she could see ships of a dozen different species flying alongside human vessels, their hulls bearing the symbols of the new Galactic Freedom Alliance. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the Caltharian fleet, reported Commander Sarah Lewis from the sensor station. My God, there are over 500 of them. Carter studied the tactical displays as the Empire's greatest armada emerged from hyperspace. High Admiral Thexodon had assembled every available ship from across Caltharian space. Ancient dreadnoughts that had conquered the first alien worlds flew alongside the newest Imperial warships. It was a force designed to end the human threat once and for all. "Communications from the Caltharian flagship," announced Lieutenant David Chen. On screen, Carter ordered. The bridge displays showed High Admiral Thexodon, a massive reptilian figure whose armor bore the scars of 100 conquests. Behind him, Carter could see the bridge of the largest ship she had ever encountered, the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion. "I am High Admiral Thexodon, Supreme Commander of the Imperial Fleet," his voice boomed across the human bridge. "You face the combined might of 500 Imperial warships. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift." Admiral Carter stepped forward, her uniform crisp and her expression calm. "I am Admiral Lisa Carter of the United Earth Defense Command. High Admiral, you are entering the territory of the Galactic Freedom Alliance without permission. I suggest you withdraw immediately." Thexodon's laugh was filled with contempt. "Freedom Alliance? I see perhaps 1,000 primitive ships facing the greatest fleet ever assembled. Your foolish alliance will be crushed, and your species will serve as an example to any who would dare defy the Empire. High Admiral, before you make any decisions you might regret, perhaps you should ask yourself why we chose to meet you here in this system, at this time." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the alien commander's features. "What do you mean?" Captain Laura Thompson's voice came over the communication channels from the USS Liberation. "Admiral Carter, all Allied fleets are in position and ready." "Allied fleets?" Thexodon looked at his tactical displays and his scaled skin went pale. "That's impossible." Admiral Carter smiled. "High Admiral, meet the Galactic Freedom Alliance. The Viridians contributed their crystal shield technology. The Aquarians brought their bioships that can repair themselves in battle. The Synthetic Collective provided their robotic fleets that never tire and never retreat. 12 species, High Admiral, all united against Imperial tyranny." The tactical displays around Thexodon lit up with new contacts as cloaked Allied ships revealed themselves throughout the system. What had appeared to be 1,000 human vessels was actually a combined fleet of over 2,000 ships representing the most advanced species in the galaxy. "This changes nothing," Thexodon snarled, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "Numbers mean nothing against Imperial superiority." "Perhaps," Admiral Carter replied, "but I should mention that we've had a month to study the wreckage of your second fleet. We know exactly how your shields work, how your weapons operate, and how your command structure functions. Would you like a demonstration?" Captain Jake Foster's voice crackled over the human channels from his stealth ship. "Admiral, we have confirmation that all Imperial command ships have been targeted by our infiltration teams." Admiral Carter nodded. "High Admiral, Captain Foster's teams have been placing quantum charges on your command vessels for the past 6 hours. Your ship's sensors can't detect our stealth technology, so you had no way of knowing we were there." "Impossible," Thexodon shouted. "Our security protocols are designed to stop conventional infiltration," Admiral Carter finished. "But humans developed phase shift technology specifically to counter your defenses. Every one of your command ships is currently rigged to explode on my signal." The bridge of the Eternal Dominion erupted in chaos as officers frantically checked their security systems. Warning lights began flashing as they detected the quantum charges that had been placed throughout their ship. "You're bluffing," Thexodon said, but his voice shook with fear. Admiral Carter's expression remained calm. "Captain Foster, detonate the charges on the dreadnought crushing Victory. Just the one ship to demonstrate that we're not bluffing." In the distance, one of the Empire's oldest and most powerful warships exploded in a brilliant flash as quantum charges overloaded its reactor core. The explosion was visible to every ship in both fleets, driving home the reality of humanity's technological advantage. "As I said," Admiral Carter continued, "we've had a month to prepare for your arrival. Every strategy you might use has been anticipated. Every weapon you possess has been countered. High Admiral, the Empire's reign of terror ends today." Captain Amy Rodriguez, now commanding a squadron of advanced human warships, opened her communication channel. All Freedom Alliance ships, prepare for Operation Galactic Dawn. The combined Allied fleet began moving with perfect coordination, their formation designed to maximize the effectiveness of their various technologies. Viridian crystal ships provided shield support while Aquarian bio-vessels prepared their living weapons. Human ships activated their most advanced systems, and the robotic fleets of the Synthetic Collective moved with mechanical precision. All Imperial ships, open fire, Thexodon ordered desperately. The massive Caltharian fleet unleashed everything it had, sending waves of energy beams and projectile weapons toward the Allied force. But the Freedom Alliance ships moved like a single organism, using their combined technologies to create defensive patterns that the Empire had never encountered. Human antimatter weapons, now enhanced with Viridian crystal focusing arrays, struck Imperial ships with devastating precision. Aquarian bioships released living torpedoes that adapted to each target's specific vulnerabilities. The Synthetic Collective's robotic vessels coordinated their attacks with mathematical perfection. Within an hour, the greatest fleet in Caltharian history was broken. Hundreds of Imperial ships drifted powerless in space, their crews surrendering rather than face total destruction. The few vessels that attempted to retreat found their escape routes blocked by Allied ships that had been positioned for exactly that purpose. High Admiral Thexodon's flagship, surrounded by the wreckage of his once mighty armada, transmitted a final message. I surrender the Imperial fleet to the Galactic Freedom Alliance. Emperor Nalthek's image appeared on communication screens throughout Caltharian space, his voice carrying the weight of 3,000 years of defeat. The Caltharian Empire officially surrenders to the human-led alliance. All Imperial forces are ordered to stand down and accept Allied occupation. Admiral Carter stood before the representatives of 20 different species in the Great Hall of the space station that would become the new galactic capital. Behind her, the flags of the Freedom Alliance member worlds created a colorful display of unity that had never before existed in the galaxy. Today marks the beginning of a new era, she announced. An era where freedom and cooperation replace conquest and fear. The Galactic Freedom Alliance will protect any species that desires independence and will never force membership on anyone who prefers to remain neutral. President Danny Walsh, joining the ceremony by quantum communication from Earth, addressed the assembled representatives. Humanity never sought to become the protectors of the galaxy. But when faced with tyranny, we could not stand aside. We offer our strength to defend liberty, our technology to improve lives, and our friendship to any who desire it. Captain Amy Rodriguez, recently promoted to Admiral and appointed as the first Supreme Commander of the Allied fleet, stepped forward. The galaxy has learned that no empire, no matter how powerful, can stand against the united will of free peoples. The age of imperial dominance is over. The age of galactic freedom has begun. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Carter looked out at the stars through the station's great viewport. Humanity had traveled from a single world to become the leaders of a galactic alliance, not through conquest, but through their willingness to stand against tyranny and protect those who could not protect themselves. The Empire had panicked when they realized they couldn't defeat a simple human warship. Now they had learned that underestimating humanity had cost them everything they had built over 3 millennia. The galaxy was free, and humanity had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from the size of your fleet, but from the courage to stand up for what is right.